The massive alien fleet appeared on a regular Tuesday morning, their ships blocking out the sun over major cities across Earth. Their dark, metallic vessels hung in the sky like storm clouds, stretching for miles in every direction. Commander Tom sat at his station in Earth's Global Defense Center, watching as the first alien transmission came through. The message blared across every radio frequency, television channel, and digital device on the planet. It was meant to be threatening. A steady, pulsing rhythm punctuated by deep, resonating tones that repeated in a precise pattern. "Sir," said Lisa, one of the communication officers, "the message appears to be their standard warning signal. They're demanding Earth's immediate surrender." But as she spoke, a slight smile crept across her face. "Why are you smiling at a time like this?" Tom asked, confused by her unexpected reaction. Lisa couldn't help herself. "Sir, have you actually listened to their alarm? It's got a really good beat to it." Tom paused and really listened to the alien signal. Now that she mentioned it, the warning alarm did have a surprisingly catchy rhythm. The deep, pulsing bass could easily fit into any dance club on Earth. Within hours, something unexpected began happening in cities worldwide. Instead of running in panic from the alien ships, people were gathering in streets and parks. Amateur DJs started recording the alien signals, adding their own beats and music to the otherworldly sounds. In New York, a street performer dragged his speakers out and began mixing the alien warning with classic dance tracks. The crowd grew from dozens to hundreds. In Tokyo, teenagers were already creating viral dance videos featuring the alien soundtrack. London's famous clubs opened their doors early, advertising end-of-the-world parties, with the alien signal as the main attraction. The alien fleet's sensors detected these growing gatherings, but their readings made no sense. According to their data, humans were producing high levels of endorphins and other pleasure chemicals. This was not the fear response they had expected. On the alien flagship, First Officer Red turned to Fleet Captain Blue with confusion evident in all four of his eyes. "Sir, the humans, they're dancing." "That's impossible," Blue replied. "Our warning signal is designed to create fear and panic. It's been tested on 1,000 species." "See for yourself," Red said, projecting a video feed onto the ship's main screen. It showed crowds of humans moving rhythmically to their warning signal, smiling and enjoying themselves as if they were at a celebration. More concerning reports started coming in from their observation teams. The warning signal was being shared across human communication networks, with millions of what humans called remixes appearing every hour. Their carefully crafted psychological warfare had just become the hottest new music trend on Earth. Back at the Defense Center, Tom watched the situation unfold with amazement. Humanity's first response to a potential alien invasion wasn't fear or violence. It was to turn it into a party. As he watched the crowds growing larger in every major city, all moving to the alien beat, he realized that perhaps humans had found their own unique way of handling first contact. The aliens wanted to make humanity tremble. Instead, they made Earth dance. Admiral Gray stood on the bridge of his flagship, his tentacles twitching with increasing irritation as he watched the screens before him. This was not how invasions were supposed to go. His fleet had conquered 12 different civilizations, and none of them had ever danced. "Show me these social media feeds again," he ordered, his voice gruff with frustration. The main screen lit up with thousands of human broadcasts. Each one seemed more bizarre than the last. A group of humans in something called a gym had synchronized their exercise routine to the warning signal. Another group had added strings and drums to create what they called a space opera remix. Most confusing of all were the countless videos of humans in their homes, using random objects as instruments to accompany the alien alarm. "Sir," reported Officer Green, monitoring the human internet, "a new trend is spreading. They're calling it the Invasion Vibe Challenge." He projected a video showing humans performing coordinated dance moves to their battle alarm. It has received over 50 million likes in the past hour. Admiral Gray's color shifted from his normal purple to a deep blue of confusion. Are they mocking us? Unknown, sir, but there's more. Green's fingers flew over his console. Human musicians are releasing professional recordings. One called Alien Beats Drop has reached something called #1 on the charts. They're making money from our warning signal. The Admiral watched as more data poured in. Humans were organizing massive gatherings they called space raids. Their warning signal, designed by the finest psychological warfare experts in the galaxy, was being played in human-eating establishments as dinner music. This is unacceptable. Admiral Gray's tentacles coiled tightly. Send the secondary warning signal, the one designed for particularly resistant species. The fleet transmitted the new signal, a complex pattern of deep, threatening pulses mixed with high-pitched screeches that had driven test subjects mad in their laboratories. They waited for the panic to finally begin. Instead, within minutes, human social media exploded with new activity. "Sir," Green reported, his voice shaking slightly, "they're calling it a sick drop. They say it absolutely slaps." "What does that mean?" demanded Gray. "According to my analysis of human language, they'd really like it." The Admiral watched in horror as humans began combining both warning signals, adding their own sounds, and creating something they called alien dubstep. Dance parties grew larger. Human productivity should have crashed. Instead, they seemed to be working even more efficiently while moving to the beat. Even worse, some of the younger officers in his fleet had begun showing strange symptoms. One was caught moving rhythmically during his duty shift, claiming he couldn't help it because the beat was too good. Another had requested information about human dance moves. Admiral Gray sank into his command chair, all four arms gripping the armrests tightly. The invasion had barely begun, and somehow humans had turned their most potent psychological weapon into something called a playlist. "Sir," Green interrupted his thoughts, "you should see this. Humans are organizing something called a World Unity Concert for tomorrow. They're using our warning signals as the main attraction." The Admiral could only stare at the screen in disbelief. This was going to be a very different kind of war. The World Unity Concert was unlike anything Earth had ever seen. Instead of hiding from the alien ships looming overhead, millions of humans gathered in major cities around the planet. The aliens' warning signals echoed through massive speaker systems, now layered with beats, music, and remixes from hundreds of DJs. In Times Square, New York, DJ Max had set up his equipment right under one of the alien vessels. The crowd stretched for blocks, all moving to the rhythm of the alien signals mixed with Earth's best dance music. The giant screens normally used for advertisements now displayed a live feed of the alien ships, perfectly synchronized with the beat. "Are they seriously having a party right under our weapons?" Officer Green asked, watching the scenes unfold from the alien flagship. "Not just one party," another officer responded. "Look at these readings from around their world." On the alien command screens, heat signatures showed massive gatherings on every continent. In Rio de Janeiro, the beach was packed with dancers. Tokyo's Shibuya crossing had turned into an enormous dance floor. Even in small towns, humans gathered in parks and town squares, portable speakers blasting the alien-human hybrid music. The most confusing part for the alien observers was how the humans seemed to be getting more organized, not less. Instead of chaos, the dancing crowds moved with surprising coordination. Work continued in offices and factories, but now with added rhythm. Students in schools had created dances to help remember their lessons. "Their productivity is actually increasing," reported one bewildered alien scientist. "The music seems to be making them more efficient." Down on Earth, an old warehouse district had been transformed into the largest dance venue ever created. Lights flashed in harmony with the alien signals, and the ground literally shook with the combined force of the music and the movement of thousands of dancers. Inside the warehouse, DJ Max grabbed his microphone. "Let me hear you make some noise for our friends up there," he shouted, pointing at the alien ship visible through the skylight. The crowd roared in response, the sound so loud it registered on the alien's sensor equipment. On the alien flagship, Admiral Gray watched with growing concern as his own crew showed increasing signs of contamination. 2 security officers had been caught practicing human dance moves in the cargo bay. The ship's cook was adding rhythm to the food dispensing process. Even the usually stoic navigation team was seen swaying slightly in their seats. "Sir," Officer Green reported, trying to hide the fact that his foot was tapping to the beat, "the humans have announced that this is just the warm-up. They're planning something called a global dance defense for tomorrow." "What exactly is a global dance defense?" Admiral Gray demanded. "According to their broadcasts, they plan to, and I quote, make the whole planet vibe so hard the aliens will have no choice but to join the party." The Admiral's tentacles twisted in confusion. Their species had encountered many forms of resistance before, but none quite like this. How do you intimidate a species that turns your threats into entertainment? How do you fight an enemy that responds to war signals with dance moves? As if to answer his thoughts, a new wave of bass rumbled through the ship, and he couldn't help noticing several bridge officers starting to bob their heads to the rhythm. The medical bay of the alien flagship was in chaos. Dr. Purple, the fleet's chief medical officer, faced a growing crisis as more crew members showed symptoms of what he termed rhythmic contamination. "Show me the results again," he ordered his medical team, watching as holographic displays showed brain scans of affected crew members. The patterns were unlike anything they'd seen before. When exposed to human music mixed with their own warning signals, their neural pathways lit up with pleasure responses. In the junior officers' quarters, the situation was getting out of hand. Lieutenant White had been caught installing something called subwoofers in his sleeping pod. When questioned, he claimed he needed to feel the bass to sleep properly now. "It's spreading faster than we anticipated," Dr. Purple reported to Admiral Gray. "Yesterday, we found an entire maintenance crew having what humans call a dance break between shifts. They claim it makes them work better." The Admiral's face darkened. "And what about the incident in the engine room?" Dr. Purple's tentacles writhed nervously. "Ah, yes. The engineering team has started synchronizing their maintenance routines to the human beats. They insist it improves efficiency. The disturbing part is, they're right. Engine performance has improved by 12%. On the lower decks, a group of security officers responded to reports of unusual noise. They found a secret gathering in one of the storage bays. Dozens of crew members were moving to the rhythm of human music, some attempting to replicate dance moves they'd seen in human videos. "This has to stop," Admiral Gray declared, watching the security footage. But even as he spoke, he noticed one of his bridge officers swaying slightly in their seat. The medical team's reports grew more alarming. Crew members were showing physical changes, increased endorphin levels, improved coordination, and what Dr. Purple described as an irresistible urge to move their bodies in rhythmic patterns. "Sir," a young officer interrupted, entering the medical bay. "We have a new problem. The crew has started something called a dance challenge." He projected a video showing crew members from different ships performing coordinated movements to a mix of their warning signals and human music. Dr. Purple studied the footage with horror. "It's gone intership. The contamination is spreading through the entire fleet." In the ship's mess hall, the situation reached a new level of concern. During the main meal period, someone had patched human music through the ship's internal speakers. Instead of reporting it, the entire room of off-duty crew members began moving in unison, performing what humans called the wave. "We found these in officer quarters," a security team reported, displaying confiscated items, downloaded human music, crude attempts at creating dancing outfits, and worst of all, a handwritten guide titled "How to Break Dance with Multiple Limbs." An alien's guide. Admiral Gray received the final report with growing dread. Over 30% of the fleet's crew now showed signs of what humans called catching the groove. The medical team had no cure, and more importantly, The affected crew members didn't want to be cured. As he read the report, the Admiral caught himself tapping his tentacle to the faint beat coming through the ship's hull. He quickly stopped, but a terrible thought occurred to him. What if he was already infected too? The alien fleet's research division worked overtime trying to understand what was happening. Dr. Brown, the lead xenobiologist, had never seen anything like it in his centuries of studying other species. "Look at these brain scans," he explained to the fleet's senior staff, pointing to images of human minds during their dance activities. When humans vibe, as they call it, their entire neural network lights up. They're not just enjoying themselves. They're operating at peak efficiency. The presentation room was unusually crowded. Even off-duty officers had come to learn about this strange human phenomenon. Some were taking notes with poorly concealed enthusiasm. "But how is this possible?" Admiral Gray demanded. Their response defies all known patterns of species behavior under threat. Dr. Brown adjusted his sensory appendages and continued. "Humans have evolved to turn almost anything into a source of joy. Their history shows this pattern repeatedly. In their ancient times, they turned physical labor into dance. They transformed war chants into music. They've even made entertainment out of their own disasters. On the main screen, videos showed humans dancing in various situations. At work, during exercise, even in what appeared to be dangerous situations. Each clip showed the same pattern. Humans moving to rhythm while accomplishing tasks with surprising efficiency. Most concerning, Dr. Brown added, is how infectious this behavior is. Our own crew's exposure to human vibing has led to unprecedented changes in their performance metrics." He displayed a new chart. Engineering crews who have adopted human rhythmic movements show a 20% increase in repair speed. Communication teams who groove between shifts process messages 15% faster. Even our combat simulators show improved results when runners add what humans call dance steps to their movements. The Admiral's tentacles curled in distress as several officers in the room began unconsciously swaying to the faint beat of the presentation's background noise. "There's more," Dr. Brown continued. "Humans use this dancing for everything. Celebration, mourning, warfare, courtship, exercise, social bonding. It's not just entertainment, it's a fundamental part of their species functioning." A junior researcher stepped forward with another report. "We've detected trace elements of what humans call dopamine and endorphins in their brain chemistry while they dance. These chemicals seem to enhance their natural abilities rather than diminish them." The room fell silent as security footage played, showing the human construction crew rebuilding a damaged building while moving in perfect rhythm to the alien warning signals. They worked faster and more efficiently than any species the aliens had encountered. In conclusion, Dr. Brown said, "Humans have turned our psychological warfare into a tool for their own advancement. They're not just resisting our attack, they're thriving because of it." Admiral Gray stared at the final slides, showing the growing number of alien crew members affected by what they now called the rhythm syndrome. The humans hadn't just defended against their warning signals, they'd weaponized joy itself. As the presentation ended, Dr. Brown added one final, troubling observation. "Sir, based on these findings, I believe we may have accidentally given humans a new way to unite their entire species. They're calling it the universal beat." On the 13th day of the invasion, the alien fleet's perfect formation began to crack. It started with the scout ship Starseeker suddenly breaking rank to perform what its captain later described as a sick spin move. Admiral Gray watched in horror as the ship twirled through space, its movement perfectly timed to the bass drops of the human music playing across Earth. "Get that ship back in formation immediately," he ordered through the command channel. "Sorry, sir," came the response, accompanied by suspicious background rhythms. "We're just testing new evasive maneuvers." But it wasn't just the Starseeker. Within hours, more ships began showing strange flight patterns. The battlecruiser Void Hunter was caught doing loop-de-loops. 3 transport vessels had arranged themselves in a triangle formation and were rotating in what human observers called the biggest synchronized space dance ever. In the cargo bay of the flagship, the situation was even worse. Officer Green discovered what the crew had been doing with their off-duty hours. They had converted the massive space into what humans called a rave cave. "This is completely unacceptable," Admiral Gray thundered as he inspected the cargo bay. The walls were covered with makeshift lighting systems. Someone had fabricated a primitive disco ball from spare communication array parts. Worst of all, most of his senior staff was already there, wearing glowing accessories made from emergency light strips. "Sir," Officer Green reported, trying to keep his own feet from tapping, "we're receiving similar reports from across the fleet. Cargo bays, maintenance halls, even fighter hangars are being converted into dance spaces." The ship's internal sensors told the story. During off hours, crew members were gathering in increasing numbers to practice human dance moves. The medical bay was flooded with requests for joint lubricant from crew members who had attempted something called breakdancing. "Sir," a communication officer called out urgently, "Battle Group 6 has just changed their formation into what?" the Admiral demanded. A smiley face, "Sir. They're calling it Operation Good Vibes." The Admiral rushed to the observation deck. Sure enough, 6 of his most powerful warships had rearranged themselves into a crude smiling face against the backdrop of Earth. Even worse, they were pulsing their shield harmonics in rhythm with the human music below. Reports flooded in from across the fleet. The engineering corps had started a dance battle competition between ships. The fighter pilot squadron was choreographing their training exercises. Someone had taught the maintenance robots to do something called the robot dance. As Admiral Gray watched his once mighty invasion force dissolve into what humans would call the biggest party in the galaxy, his personal assistant approached with one final devastating report. "Sir," the assistant said nervously, "the crew of the heavy cruiser Night Striker is requesting DG equipment." The Admiral's tentacles drooped in defeat as he watched another ship break formation to join what was quickly becoming less of an invasion fleet and more of a dance festival in space. The humans hadn't just resisted their attack. They'd turned their entire armada into the galaxy's largest dance party. And secretly, deep in his command quarters, Admiral Gray found himself practicing a few moves too. Earth's Global Defense Center had transformed into what they now called Mission Control Room Disco. Military personnel mixed with DGs and sound engineers, all working on humanity's most unusual counterattack plan ever. "Everything ready?" asked Commander Tom, looking at the massive array of speakers and broadcasting equipment they'd assembled. Each device was aimed upward at the alien fleet, ready to deliver what humanity hoped would be their masterstroke. "All systems go," reported Lisa, now wearing headphones decorated with tiny alien spaceships. "Every major city has their sound systems in place. The global music sync is at 100%. The plan was simple but bold. Hit the aliens with the greatest dance music humanity had ever created, mixed with their own warning signals. They called it Operation Bass Drop. "Start with the classics," Tom ordered. The first wave began. Earth's most powerful speakers activated, sending the unmistakable opening beats of human dance music through the atmosphere and into space. On the alien flagship, Admiral Gray felt it before he heard it. A deep, rhythmic vibration that started in the ship's hull and seemed to travel straight into their bodies. Then came the sound, a perfect blend of their warning signals and human music that made resistance impossible. "Sir," Officer Green shouted over the growing rhythm, multiple ships reporting critical levels of groove. The alien fleet's sensors showed the impossible. Humans had somehow amplified their music to reach every ship in the fleet. The beats were perfectly calibrated to resonate with their hull frequencies, turning entire ships into massive speakers. Things deteriorated quickly for the invasion force. On the battleship Star Crusher, the entire bridge crew spontaneously broke into synchronized dancing. The dreaded heavy cruiser Planet Breaker turned on its external lights and became a floating disco ball. "Make it stop," Admiral Gray ordered, but even he found himself swaying. The humans had weaponized every genre of dance music they had: rock, disco, electronic, pop, each wave hitting the fleet with increasing force. Then came what humans called the drop. All of Earth's speakers synchronized for one massive blast of pure rhythm. The effect on the alien fleet was catastrophic. Entire squadrons of ships broke formation to dance. Crew members abandoned their posts to join impromptu dance parties. Even the ship's AI systems began adjusting their processing cycles to match the beat. In the Global Defense Center, Tom watched the sensors with amazement. "It's working. Their ships are losing all combat coordination." The aliens had expected resistance, had prepared for weapons, but nothing in their combat training had prepared them for Earth's ultimate party mix. Their fleet, designed to withstand the most powerful weapons in the galaxy, was being defeated by humanity's ability to create an irresistible groove. "Should we hit them with the final?" Lisa asked, her hand hovering over a button labeled Ultimate Dance Mix. Tom nodded. "Drop the bass." The final wave hit the alien fleet like a tsunami of sound, the perfect combination of every dance track humanity had ever created, mixed with the aliens' own warning signals. Ships spun in space, crews danced in zero gravity, and the mighty invasion force transformed into the galaxy's biggest dance party. The humans had discovered the ultimate truth. No one, not even advanced alien civilizations, could resist a really good beat. Admiral Gray stood on his flagship's bridge, watching his invasion fleet fall into complete chaos. The situation had become impossible to control. His mighty armada, meant to conquer Earth, had turned into the galaxy's largest dance party. "Status report," he demanded, trying to ignore the fact that half his bridge crew was doing something called the wave. "Sir," Officer Green responded, barely containing his own dancing, "ship efficiency has dropped to critical levels. The crew of the Doombringer is having a breakdance competition in their engine room. The Star Crusher has turned its weapon systems into a light show." The Admiral's tentacles curled in frustration as more reports flooded in. 3 destroyer ships had formed a conga line in space. The elite fighter squadron was performing synchronized dance routines during patrol. Someone had reprogrammed the battle computers to play something called disco lights. "Sir," a junior officer called out, "the Night Fury reports their entire crew is what? Their entire crew is what? They're all doing something called the Macarena." Admiral Gray sank into his command chair, watching the sensor displays. His once mighty fleet now moved like a giant dance club in space. Ships pulsed their shields in rhythm. Crews ignored battle stations to practice dance moves, and even the automated defense systems had started moving to the beat. "Combat readiness report," he ordered, hoping for at least some good news. Officer Green checked the numbers and winced. "Sir, combat efficiency is at 15% and falling. Most crew members are too busy busting moves to maintain battle stations. 3 ships have officially declared themselves party vessels." The final blow came when the fleet's most decorated battle cruiser, the Planet Smasher, sent an official request to be renamed Dance Party Alpha. Admiral Gray looked at Earth below, still pulsing with music and light. The humans hadn't just resisted their invasion. They'd turned it into the biggest celebration the galaxy had ever seen. His fleet, designed to conquer worlds, had been defeated by something as simple as a good rhythm. "Sir," Officer Green said quietly, trying to hide his own foot-tapping, "I don't think we can win this one. The humans, they're just too groovy." The Admiral knew he was right. His mighty invasion force had been reduced to a floating dance festival. His crews were more interested in perfecting their dance moves than maintaining combat readiness. Even the ship's AI had started generating what it called sick beats. With a heavy heart, Admiral Gray made the hardest decision of his military career. "Send the order to all ships," he commanded. "We're retreating." The retreat order went out, but even that didn't go as planned. Instead of a dignified withdrawal, ships performed elaborate dance moves as they left Earth's orbit. The fleet departed not in strict military formation, but in what humans would later describe as a conga line through space. As they jumped to light speed, Admiral Gray heard the unmistakable sound of music coming from his own quarters. He had forgotten to delete the human dance tracks he'd secretly downloaded. The invasion of Earth had failed, but as the Admiral watched his dancing fleet retreat through space, he couldn't help but think they'd learned something valuable. Sometimes the best weapon isn't a gun or a bomb. Sometimes it's just a really good beat. 1 year after the failed invasion of Earth, the Galactic Council faced an unprecedented crisis. The stern council chamber, usually filled with serious debates about interstellar politics, now echoed with faint bass beats coming from hidden speakers. "This is unacceptable," declared the council leader, pounding his tentacle on the table. "Earth music has spread to every corner of the galaxy. Our young ones won't stop dancing. Even my own child asked for something called a DJ set for their hatching day." The evidence was everywhere. Secret dance clubs had popped up on every major alien world. Underground radio stations played nothing but Earth music. The most popular contraband in the galaxy wasn't weapons or technology. It was human dance tracks. "The latest reports are disturbing," announced one council member, trying to hide their own foot tapping. "We've discovered entire space stations converted into what humans call nightclubs. 3 highly advanced civilizations have declared dancing their new official religion." Security footage played on the council screens, showing aliens of all species attempting human dance moves. Multi-limbed creatures did impossible breakdancing. Floating gas-based life forms pulsed in rhythm to Earth beats. Even the silicon-based rock people had started what they called mineral raves. "Our military academies are in chaos," another council member reported. "The cadets are refusing to march. They only want to dance. They claim it improves their coordination and unit cohesion. The worst part is, they're right." The final report was the most shocking. The galaxy's most famous scientific institute had released a study proving that dancing actually improved productivity, happiness, and peaceful relations between species. They called it the universal groove theory. After hours of debate, the council reached a surprising decision. If they couldn't beat the humans, perhaps they should join them. Earth's representatives were invited to the Galactic Council the next day. They arrived not in formal diplomatic attire, but in what they called party gear, led by DJ Max himself. "We have a proposal," the council leader announced, trying to maintain dignity while Earth music played softly in the background. "Earth will be granted full membership in the galactic community, under one condition: you must teach us how to dance properly." The response was immediate. Within months, Earth opened the galaxy's first dance academy. Alien species from across the universe came to learn the art of getting down. Humanity's greatest export became its music and dance moves. Former invasion fleet Admiral Gray even became a regular guest lecturer, teaching a popular class called How to Turn Your Battle Formation into a Dance Formation. His demonstration of how to breakdance with tentacles became legendary. On the anniversary of the failed invasion, the galaxy celebrated with what became known as the Universal Peace Party, the biggest synchronized dance event in history. Trillions of beings across thousands of worlds moved to the same beat, proving that music truly was the universal language. And in the great halls of the Galactic Council, where once only serious matters were discussed, a new sign hung proudly: "In times of conflict, don't reach for a weapon, just drop the bass." Earth had not only survived its first alien contact, it had turned the entire galaxy into one giant dance floor. And somehow, that made perfect sense.